Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new webinar by Timber Exchange. Today, we're going to be discussing the timber market in Finland with none other than Luvia's own Ville Valio. We will wait a minute for our friends from all across the world. The good thing about the timber industry is that it's fragmented. The bad thing about the timber industry is that it's fragmented. So we'll wait a minute for people to join. In the meantime, as usual, down below, write in the chat where in the world you are watching from. Okay, Gabriela already knows the routine. Hello, Gabriela from Brazil. Very nice to see you. We have Alexander from Latvia. Good to see you. Sako from Finland. I recognize a lot of names. People seem to be maybe a bit shy today. More people from Latvia, England even. You have Ville, you have a European and South American audience. And we have Sharif from Egypt. Welcome, Sharif.
Excellent. Looks really international.
Yeah, we have Turkey as well. Warm welcome. India as well. Okay. That should be enough for now. So, warm welcome to everyone. In this webinar, we're going to explore the Finnish timber market, the trends, the outlook, the effect of the war in Ukraine, and also, of course, upcoming policy changes, what we can expect going forward and how it might affect us. And as usual, this webinar is brought to you by Timber Exchange. My name is Amir Rashad, the CEO and founder, and we are your partner to track the timber market, to automate your exports, and now also for outsourcing. And this week's guest is none other than Luvia's own sales director, Mr. Ville Valio. And we want to apologize for not having done so many webinars over the past, or this year. This is the first one. Because we've been so busy. So here you can see a picture from Wood from Finland, where we were selected to discuss the MENA timber market. And then after that, in March, we were invited to lead and organize the first Dubai Wood Show Forum, where we had, I think, 7 or 8 panel discussions with market leaders from around the world. And that was also super, super interesting. And we will repeat that next year, and it will be much bigger. So do come by. And in 2014, I started writing markets reports. So it's exactly 1 decade now. And that became a newsletter shortly after. And since then, I've always had a passion and been on a mission to improve this industry and help it become more efficient and more transparent. Because I believe with more transparency, we can reduce volatility, actually. And that's probably something we're all pretty tired of at this point. And I believe that with automation, we can actually work proactively instead of reactively. And this webinar is a perfect example of why we do what we do and what we believe in, because we want to spread ideas, share insights and analysis in a modern and fresh way, so that you, the audience, can hear directly from first-hand market leaders what is happening and what they actually think. And us at Timber Exchange, in summary, what we do is that we help you to track the market, to automate your shipments, and now also to outsource the work that you don't want to do yourself, such as documents, payments, or even cargo inspections. And we've also created the world's most comprehensive global timber industry market tracker. And now, without further ado, a warm welcome to Mr. Ville Valio. Hello, Ville, how are you?
Hello, and thank you, and many thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
It's our absolute pleasure.
I have a couple of disclaimers in the beginning. First of all, my deepest apologies for postponing the webinar. That was definitely not the intention, but I got a horrible travel back from Nantes, the Carrefour de Bois, which was excellent this year again. But I got an 18-hour delay with the flight got postponed, so cancelled. So deep apologies for that. Then another disclaimer: everything today is my own opinions, personal opinions, deriving from my experience and what do I think of the other world. They don't necessarily reflect the official statements of Luvian Sawmill or HS Timber Group. And third of all, like I said to you, Amir, I ain't going to be having any PowerPoints, so it's just me and my small notes.
Those are the best webinars and the best conversations, actually.
Good. Let's hope so.
Yes. So Ville, please tell us about your experience in this industry, what you do in Luvia, but also what does Luvia do? Yeah,
if I start about myself, name has come across many times already today. So I've been 20 years in the business this August, actually. I started in Stora, and so I was there for 3 years. Then I was 16 years with Metsä Group, and now 6 months with Luvian. I've done all sorts of things related to timber, everything at the core of the timber business. I've been a production foreman a short time. I've been a product manager. I've been a sales and supply manager. I've been a supply chain manager, and now in different sales director roles for 5 years. First in Northern Europe only, then Europe, and now globally with Luvian. About Luvian, like I said, I have a bit of a short experience, but still enough to tell the general things about Luvian. We produce roughly around 300,000 cubes of rough sawn timber per year, out of which we plane 70,000 cubes, mostly profile boards like this for exterior cladding use. Also structural wood, 2x4s, 1x4s, 1x6, 1x8, and then out of the painted volume, the planed volume, we paint about 15,000 cubes. So we do ready product for exterior cladding. We have been a part of HS Timber Group for 2 years now, since 2022. The company itself is Finnish. We have 1 unit here in Finland. I live about half an hour to the north, heavily export orientated, although you introduced me as to talk about the Finnish market, but currently our activity in the Finnish market is quite low, about 90% being exported.
Super interesting. So you bring both a local and a global perspective, and also the perspective of both rough sawn timber, but also value-added products. So it's very interesting indeed.
Let's hope so. And yeah, sorry, I think that what I try to bring here today is the Finnish perspective, but to the export markets.
Excellent. Let's start from the beginning of the supply chain. How is raw material availability today and its costs? And does this affect the production outlook, do you believe?
So we're going in the beginning to the very deep end of the business, and let me say, perhaps the most crucial part of Finnish timber industry at the moment, and it has been so for a very long time. Let us not start from the Roman times, but let's start from the winter. The winter was very long, even here on the West Coast. It was the best winter for wood harvesting, for forest operations in minimum 2 decades. Raw material supply, cubic meter wise, is okay. We have no issues. Here on the West Coast, I know I have some friends in the industry who have had some wet season, but for example, here in the West season, winter ended and summer started. We're having 26, 27 degrees out there right now. So there was no wet season at all. Transport, logistics, everything working out perfectly. We have targeted reserves, and I think that our competitors have so as well. So cubic meter wise, everything okay. I don't see any risks, and the biggest but is unfortunately the log prices are increasing, and this puts us again, and we have been since the end of COVID boom, we have been in this problem for a long time, that the log price market does not have anything to do with the timber prices and the timber market. Where does the increased log cost derive from? There are many issues, but if we talk about the situation today, the historical price levels in Finland has been so that the pulp log has been less than 50% from logs. So if the log cost is, for example, 70 euros, the pulp logs has been less than 35. That has been roughly the price ratio for a long time. Now the pulp logs are over 50%. They can be even 60% of the other log cost. Where does that come from? Now we're going to first time to Russia. The Russian import of pulp logs is of course ended. That's number one reason. Then the pulp prices at the moment are increasing after a long time of low figures. So there is a need for pulp logs with the other pulp companies. And then a little bit new thing during the past 2 years, 3 years, that the energy companies play a big role in the log market. Can you imagine that some of the energy companies in Finland, they are even organizing their own departments, purchasing organizations to buy wood from the forest? And I'm not an expert of the log markets, but what I've understood is that the energy log price is pretty much parallel to the pulp log price, which gives pressure to both parties. Where does the energy situation comes from? It comes from two things. First of all, of course, the war on Ukraine and the energy crisis in Europe. But I think that at least the same effect is on the governmental decision and the political pressure to not burn the beet, the moss from the swamps, because that's not ecological. It releases CO2 and it ruins the lakes and rivers. So the energy companies, if the beet moss is not accessible or it's too expensive, what's their next option? When you can't have coal nor you can't have oil, what's their next option? It's wood. So all in all, the raw material situation and how is it affecting both production and the sales? Cubic meters at the moment for this summer and for this year, I'm sure that the cubic meters are available. Now it's a problem of the cost, and is the whole business, timber business, profitable or not? And that of course comes from the markets.
Super interesting indeed. And many markets have battled with forest fires, bark beetle, inflation, and as you mentioned, energy costs. What factors are affecting the Finnish market now?
Well, if we a little bit again go back in time, the production output in Finland from 2017 to 2020 was roughly about 12 million. Then it dropped to 10 million in 2020, and during 2021, when the COVID boom came, it went back up to 12 million, which I think at that time was pretty much the highest capacity what was available. Now, since COVID, up until this year and the estimation of this year, we have slightly decreased down to 10 million again. This is of course due mainly the issue that I mentioned, that the timber price and the log price, their ratio is not good enough. If we talk about the other issues that are affecting the Finnish market and in this case the Finnish output, we're living very historical times, very historical times. The Finnish sawmilling industry in Finland have invested over €500 million in the past 3 years, if we include Metsä sawmill. We're hearing a new investment pretty much every quarter. This quarter has seen already 2 in the past 2 weeks. But 2024, it also, what I understood from customers, colleagues, friends, that many companies struggle with their investments. So the real production output does not necessarily happen this year in 2024. But as you said, there are forecasts, and we have already seen that in Finland quite severely. It's been very, very dry for 3 weeks, very hot in our circumstances, hot when it's close to 30 Celsius. We've had this for 2-3 weeks now. Is the summer going to be super hot? Are we going to be having this dryness? What effect does this dryness have? Then in the end of summer, we've always seen storms, like you said, forest fire, bark beetle. These are all risks that will decrease the output even further in most cases. Of course, storms, if we have in some term, they will even increase the production output. But as in many of the other notes as I have for today, I'm asking myself a question: is there a certain reason, a certain thing that would suddenly increase the production? I think no. There are absolutely no such reason. So everything what you mentioned, and on top of the inflation and energy costs, everything will be decreasing the output. That's absolutely certain, and will make the sales price, log price ratio even worse. That's absolutely certain. A lot of the other companies, as I've understood, I'm not an expert on the labor markets either, but as I've understood, a lot of the other companies, they will be having their labor market negotiations in the autumn. What's going to happen there? UPM seems to be quite close with their paper workers. What's going to happen on the timber side? Like I said, again, I'm asking myself the question: is there anything positive coming in relation to our costs, production output for customers in order to be getting more material? No positive things, unfortunately, on the labor markets either. But like I said, let's not be worried too much either. Like I said, the cubic meters are there. I'm sure that the companies are able to purchase them from Finland and keep their production running on the 10 million level, plus minus something. But the sales price versus log price, it needs to be on a reasonable level. All in all, I Googled in the morning, and something that I should remember, but I Googled in the morning that it was the pulp log import to Finland pre-war was 10 million cubic meters, which is roughly 10% of the total use of wood in Finland, and of pulp logs, it's a lot more. So of course there are imbalance, this plus the energy issue. So definitely even further price pressure on the logs, and here I ask the question: what if something bad happens in the autumn, whatever that is, logistics, labor market, sales prices, demand? What if something bad happens in the autumn? How will the companies be able to survive? Because one thing is for sure, and that's the raw material cost will be increasing.
Yes, it seems that the timber market in general these days is battling with multiple things at the same time. Higher log costs, and also we have just finally rebuilt confidence in the buying market, that buyers are willing to go out there and purchase again, because before, last year, as we remember, the mentality was for customers or for industrial buyers: I'll buy tomorrow because it will be cheaper. Now it's I'll buy today because tomorrow will be more expensive. So now we finally have this market confidence. We need to make sure that we keep it. But then the issue is, if demand is volatile because of pricing, and having too high price increases isn't also good because it makes customers reluctant. But at the same time, having this cost pressure, potentially the two factors can be going against each other. And that's not good for the industry at all.
No. You're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. The confidence let us also think about where does the confidence of our customers to buy, where is it coming from? What I'm really worried at the moment is that, is it coming from them knowing that everybody has low stocks? If we're talking about Europe, there are different situations in different geographical locations, but if we talk about Europe, nobody has any stocks. And us being here in the middle of Q2, I'm also a little bit worried that are we as sawmillers and as suppliers, are we a little bit too confident that the market is good because our customers are asking the goods? Now the real question is, will our customers be able to sell their stuff during May, June, July? And that will tell us what will be the outlook for the rest of the year. That's the essence. So in many occasions, I've used this line many times earlier as well, but when a customer, whether he's a DIY merchant owner or whether he's a planing mill owner, and he asks me, how do you see the market? I always reply, you should be the one telling me, not me. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think the most important thing is to create a stable market, and also to help make sure that companies again can start planning their business. During COVID, nobody could plan anything, not the producers, not the shipping lines, not the importers, and it was a complete circus. But now, hopefully, with more stable prices, with more predictable supply and freight as well, hopefully we can restart the wheels. And the most important thing is also not to create too much inflation or volatility, because that can create uncertainty, which is overall bad. But let's jump to discuss your home market. We'll discuss profitability a bit later on today. But how is your home market performing today? And what are the biggest consuming sectors? And what is their outlook?
If we go to Finland and our domestic market, I would like to start with the line that one of my friends at a log house manufacturer said, it can't get any lower than this. This is the low point of everything when Q2 May is this what it is. But there are good signs that the train has turned, the situation has turned. We're going towards a better time. Now it's of course a question how quickly and what will be the volumes being consumed in Finland, but clearly the bottom has been reached. But let's remember that the bottom where we are at the moment, it's very low. It's historically low, and we all know where it's coming from. The European Central Bank interest rate policy, it's just too tight. It's just too tight. It's definitely too tight for us Finns. Our inflation is less than 2% at the moment. It's on target. I envy you, Amir. The Swedish Central Bank already decreased the interest rates because you can do national policy. Us Finns, we have to follow. I just Googled this morning that what are the highest figures in Europe. There's Spain, Belgium, where they still have the inflation rates 4 to 5%. But hey, come on, our prediction for the summer of many economists are that we'll be seeing 1% during the summer. So key thing for Finnish market is definitely the European Central Bank policy. How quickly they will decrease the interest rates. Now you can see assumptions. I guess that the June drop is already forecasted, but that's already inside Euribor. That will not help people with their mortgages because that's already inside the Euribor. But what will happen after that? Will it be minus 0.25 every quarter? Will they be missing a quarter? Will it at some point be -5? These are the questions that will be affecting the Finnish market, and I'm afraid that in many cases they will be affecting the European market and also the US market. I personally don't see a point in fighting against inflation, which is deriving mostly it started to derive. Of course, we pushed a lot of money during the COVID and already earlier onto the markets, but this inflation mostly started with the supply chain, the raw material issues, the energy crisis deriving from the war, and now we're putting a huge business construction sector into a recession due to that. And at the same time, there is somewhat of a housing crisis all over Europe. There's a housing crisis. The population everywhere is increasing. But anyway, going back to the Finnish market, here at Luvian, we have already for years decreased the domestic market. That has not necessarily been done 100% by purpose, or with any force, but we have just led ourselves to be in that position because it doesn't fit our profitability or profitability targets, stock rotation targets, product portfolio, and that sort. But everybody international, all the Finnish players and Finnish colleagues and friends, they know this. But to tell it, probably Sweden is the same thing. But to tell our international listeners that the Finnish market has declined from a steady level of about 5 million cubic meters down to 2 million cubic meters in 2 decades. Let's say so. In 2 decades, we have dropped to 40% of a little bit long-term figure. So what does it mean? This is probably this market is probably having the most competition for a Finnish sawmill of any market, and that has led, as my personal opinion, to a situation where the Finnish market and the customers, they expect a very high level of service, but they don't need to pay the price. That has become a little bit of assumption that yes, if you want to play in the Finnish market, you have to have that level of service. And like I said, if we're looking at stock rotation profitability, it's not necessarily the most tempting market, and quite far away from that. But as such, of course, it's important. I like to say that my customers, they don't have a homeland. Not even the domestic customers don't have a homeland. We have good customers. We have a little bit less good customers, but the nation where the customers are from is not the basis to evaluate are they good or bad. All in all, the majority of the timber sold in Finland, they are used in construction, in I would call it the quality of living sector. So there's construction, renovation, visual uses, structural uses, concrete shuttering, but everything relates to construction. And as I started with the outlook of it can't get any lower than this, it gives also the outlook for the Finnish timber market. Decking this summer looks good, but let's remember that the 2022 and 23, they were the worst ever in decking market. So if you get plus 10%, plus 20% on 23, it's nowhere good if we compare to pre-COVID times. But I've listed many negative things. I will end the view on the Finnish market by saying that the story of wood is good. It's recognized on all levels. If you ask the individual consumers, they want to build out of wood. They want to live on single family houses. They just need to get the land to build these houses on, and they need to get the material on competitive prices. And it doesn't mean competitive prices for the raw material itself, but it's including the interest rates that I've also mentioned many times, and the general possibility of getting mortgage from the banks. But the story of wood is good here in Europe, and I think in many countries, the material is appreciated. The industry, as a domestic industry, is appreciated a lot, and we're going into a housing crisis. This is now the second year in a row, like in many other European countries as well, where the building activity is very low. So what will happen when the interest rates eventually drop down? A catch-up bottle will open up, and it will open up here in Finland as well.
I think we can learn actually from what happened in the States during the financial crisis in 2008. Construction was essentially flat then. But then what happened when they actually came out of the recession? there was huge demand for housing, but there simply weren't construction companies. And they are still